They did not request that they could continue marketing the property so that they could sell their equitable interest. There's all this language that needs to be in there. And the only way to do that is by having monitored action, by having a mentor. When you've got a mentor doing that for you, you've got somebody walking you through the entire process, protecting the seller, right? And at the same time, protecting your interest too. So you need reasonable action, right? And in the beginning, that reasonable action is lead generation. You need monitored action. And the best way to get monitored action is by having a mentor. Now, let's talk about, can you get a deal in your first 7 days? Is that even possible? And I created that image, that AI generated image of an investor winning the lottery, right? Because really, that's pretty much winning the lottery. If you're brand spanking new and you're just getting started as a real estate investor, as a real estate wholesaler, and then you get involved and you get a deal under contract in your first 7 days, that's like winning the wholesale lottery, right? That's exactly what that is. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. Let's talk about the lottery again. You are statistically not likely to win the lottery, right? You know that. Everybody knows that. Statistically, you're not going to win the lottery. And yet, people play all the time. They still play the lottery. They know they're probably not going to win, but there's always that chance. And so they participate. You are statistically not likely to get a deal under contract in 7 days. But people still wholesale. People still get involved in what we're doing, even though statistically speaking, you're probably not going to get a deal in your first 7 days. Does that mean that it's impossible, that it'll never happen? No, there are plenty of people where it does happen, and we're going to talk about how to increase the odds in your favor. But is it statistically not likely? Yes, that's pretty accurate. Now, how do these people get their first deal in 7 days if they're doing it, right? Because you hear the success stories. You hear people talking about it. You hear people posting about it. I got a deal under contract in my first 7 days of doing this business, never looked back. And you see people sharing these success stories, and that's fine. Just like people share success stories of other people hitting the lottery. When someone hits the lottery, you see them talking about it. When you see someone winning $1 billion lottery, there are articles all over the place. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody is showcasing it. Everybody has pictures of the winner. They're all over the place, right? You have all these press releases. So how do these people in our business win that 7-day lottery of getting a deal under contract in the first 7 days? Well, I'm going to give you a hint. Number one, a lot of them are brand new, so they tend to make offers that are a little too high. I didn't say that them getting a deal under contract in the first 7 days is going to actually close. All I said was they got a deal under contract in the first 7 days. So one of the big mistakes that I see a lot of new people make is they come in way too high. Listen, let's be real. It's easy to get a deal under contract, okay? FYI, just so you know. You can go onto Zillow right now. You can see a property that's up for sale. You can call the agent. You can make them a full price offer. You can send it to the agent and it'll get accepted. Poof, you just got a deal under contract in your first 7 days. You just got a deal under contract in your first 5 minutes, right? It didn't take much work. Making full price offers does not mean that you're going to get that deal sold, does not mean that you're going to be profitable, does not mean that you're not going to get that seller upset with you. So a lot of brand new people, when they talk about, oh, I had a deal under contract in my first 7 days, don't fall for the glamour of what that sounds like, especially when you're dealing with someone who may have made an offer that was just way too high, way too high. So one of the things that I see, one of the pitfalls is people coming in and in the very beginning, they're making offers too high. That happens a lot. Now, how do you avoid that? Get a mentor. You get a mentor that can help guide you on that offer process, help guide you on how to comp that deal out, help guide you on what the after repaired value is. Someone to help you so that you're not making offers that are too high. Number two, these people who do get a deal under contract in the first 7 days, maybe it wasn't that they made an offer that it was too high. That's always possible. Possible that maybe they ran their numbers and they actually came up with a pretty good offer and the seller accepted. And this happened in the first 7 days. How is that possible? How is it that one person in their first 7 days got on the phone, made a few phone calls, talked to a seller, made them a reasonable offer with enough of a margin where they could still make an assignment fee and sell it to an investor, and that investor would still profit? How is it possible that they did it in 7 days, and I've been doing this for 45 days, for 90 days, and I still haven't gotten a deal under contract? How is that possible? I'm going to level with you. They were at the right place at the right time, right? There was a little bit of luck involved here. It wasn't necessarily strategy, although I will give you some strategic points that you could implement, but it was a little bit of luck. There was just a little bit of luck. Just like there's a little bit of luck when someone wins the lottery, or a lot of luck when they win the lottery. You're going to have a hint of that here. Don't let that discourage you. That's a part of the business. That is what happens. Sometimes people are just at the right place at the right time. They picked up the phone at the right time. They called that seller at the right time. That seller could have been called 50 to 100 times before. And finally, something happened that changed their mind. Maybe they're in pre-foreclosure now and they're about 3 days away from auction. Maybe there was a passing in the family and now they're realizing that they have to sell the property. Maybe they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired in a property that's become a war zone for them if they're a hoarder, right? Maybe you just finally got to them after they've received 50 calls from 50 other investors and they've been worn down by it and they're finally ready to give in, and you just caught them at the right place at the right time. You'd be surprised how often that happens. That happens a lot, but you don't know that because a lot of people will give up before they get to that, right place at the right time. Just like those people who play the lottery and win the lottery, just like those people, there's plenty of them that are like, I wasn't even sure if I was going to pay for this ticket. I wasn't even going to play tonight. And I just decided, one more time. Why not? Why not give it a shot? And then they end up winning. It's the same concept here. So to make yourself more lucky, right? What you're going to do, how do you get more lucky? You're going to increase your output. So what does that mean? That means you're going to have to work just like anybody else. You're going to have to put in the effort. And the best way to put in the effort is to develop some type of a schedule, honor that schedule, and make sure that you commit to that schedule. A couple of days ago, we did a whole training on motivation and how really motivation is not the determining factor to your success. And motivation does not determine your daily actions or your daily activities or your daily habits. It never has and it never will. Why? Because there are plenty of you who go to a job that you don't like, to work with people that you can't stand, to deal with things that you shouldn't be dealing with and don't want to be dealing with and think that you're above dealing with. But you do it out of habit, right? Not because you're doing it out of motivation. So you're going to have to increase the output. Increase the output in order to make yourself luckier, right? It's that famous quote by Henry Ford. The harder I work, the luckier I get. That's exactly what this is like. You're going to have to increase the output. You should find a mentor. I talked a lot about a mentor, but a lot of people don't realize how important having a mentor is and teaching you how to build this business. It's going to save you a lot of time. Look, you can make more money. You can't make more time. And for the people that have limited time, right, as a resource, for the people that have other occupations, other jobs, 9 to 5s, and then you've got your 5 to 9s, and then you've got your 6 to 10s, and then you've got your 10 to 6 a.m.s, like whatever you've got going on right now, right, if time is of a limited resource, then you definitely need a mentor to help guide you on what it is that you need to do. So find yourself a mentor. Immerse yourself in this information, right? That means you have to learn this information. You have to study this information. Have a little bit more respect for the profession, right? And maybe the profession will respect you back. Why is it that people seem to believe that they could get involved in this business, and if they don't make $10,000 in the first month or second month, it's a scam, it doesn't work? Right? But yet people will pay for educations $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year, right, for post-high school education, $100 to $250,000 a year for postgraduate education, right, so that they can go out and start a career in a profession that can command multiple six figures. Why is that? But in this business, right, it really doesn't cost that much to get started. The tools and the requirements to get started, even if it is in a state where you need to get licensed, aren't very much. Couldn't be more than a couple $1,000s to do it. And then after 1 or 2 months, they're saying this doesn't work. It boggles my mind. So you're going to have to immerse yourself in this information. You're going to have to become a student of this business, right? That means that you're going to want to watch the videos. You're going to want to read the books. You're going to want to listen to Audible. You want to go to masterminds. You're going to want to go to seminars. You're going to want to go to seminars. These are the things that you're going to want to do. Immerse yourself in the information. Okay, become a student of it and respect it enough, and then you're going to want to take action. So don't become a student of the business so much that you don't ever take action, right? There's only so many books you can read on swimming before you got to jump in the pool. There's only so many books you can read on driving before you got to get behind the steering wheel of a car. There's only so many books on Kama Sutra. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, you got to take action. Okay, take action. How can I get a deal in my first 7 days? A better question is, how quickly can you learn what you need to learn so that you can get a deal in your first 7 days? Instead of asking yourself, so what do I got to do to get a deal in my first 7 days? Well, what do you have to learn in order to get a deal in your first 7 days? That's a more appropriate question, because like I said, you can get a deal in 7 days. It's not that hard. You can go make an overpriced offer on any property that's on the MLS right now, and you've automatically got it under contract. But what good is that going to do for you? Nothing. So let's focus more on you learning the skills that you need to learn in order for you to be successful in this business. That's more important. People focus more on getting their first deal than they focus on becoming better at this business. That is something that I see a lot. So a lot of people tend to focus on, I got to get that first deal. I got to get that first deal. I got to get that first deal. And that is what they become consumed by, as opposed to, hey, maybe what you should be working on in order to get that first deal is mastering your scripts, mastering your language, doing some role playing, learning what to say so that when you do come across a seller that is open to hearing what it is that you have to offer, you know exactly how to structure your offer, how to structure the deal, how to structure what you're doing so that way you can find the right end buyer and have the right exit strategy. These are all the things that you need to be working on, as opposed to focusing so much on, I just got to get that deal. I got to get that deal. I got to get that deal. Let's shift your goal to now learning what you need to learn so that when you do get that deal, you know what to do with it after. And you become better at this business by taking reasonable action and monitored action. So what's reasonable action? Well, reasonable action in the very beginning is really just you doing lead generation. So for those of you who are brand new, you haven't closed the deal yet, or you're thinking about getting involved in what it is that we do, your first and primary goal should be mastering lead generation. And I say that a lot. The reason you want to master lead generation is because if you start mastering all of the other skills, including contracts, negotiations, exit strategies, negotiation with buyers, working with title companies, working with closing companies, all of that stuff, while it's important, it's not going to be anywhere near as valuable as lead generation is. Because if you become a lead generation machine, if you learn how to generate your own leads, right, everything else will fall into place. You don't need to know contracts if you don't have any leads or you don't have any sellers, right? If you don't have any sellers, what good does it do you if you know the whole contract, like the Gettysburg Address? It doesn't make a difference. Really, it's irrelevant, because you don't have any leads or any sellers that are willing to work with you anyway. So your first and foremost primary skill should be lead generation, learning how to acquire leads. And we're going to talk about a little bit on how to do that. So take reasonable action, right? And your first step towards that reasonable action is lead generation when you're just getting started. Now, when I say monitored action, what we're talking about here is then graduating from lead generation into the actual contracts and the actual negotiations. And the best way to have monitored action is, again, guess what? You've heard me say it over and over again, but it's by having a mentor walk you through the entire process. I can't tell you the number of deals that I've seen across my table that have been presented to me by newer wholesalers, newer real estate investors, and they'll present it to me, and I'll look at it, and the price is off, the price is wrong, their comps are off, the contract's written wrong. They did a disservice to the seller, and they did a disservice to themselves with the wrong language in the contract. They didn't fully disclose what their intentions were. That's another challenge that a lot of new people have. They didn't fully explain to the seller that they were not the end buyer, that they're going to be looking for the end buyer, and they did not request reasonable access to the property. They did not request that they could continue marketing the property so that they could sell their equitable interest. There's all this language that needs to be in there, and the only way to do that is by having monitored action, by having a mentor. When you've got a mentor doing that for you, you've got somebody walking you through the entire process, protecting the seller, right? And at the same time, protecting your interest too. So you need reasonable action, right? And in the beginning, that reasonable action is lead generation. You need monitored action, and the best way to get monitored action is by having a mentor. In the beginning, we talked about this. 33% of all lottery winners end up bankrupt. Why is that? I said it at the beginning. The reason that I believe that most of them end up bankrupt, number one, is because they're the same person. So all of a sudden, they give them $2 million. They were the same person they were yesterday. Now they just have a lot of money to go with it. So if they have the same bad financial habits, those habits don't necessarily change from one day to the next, and they bring those bad financial habits to that new bank account that has $2 million in it. And guess what they do? A lot of them end up squandering it. Okay. And not necessarily squandering it. Listen, I've read some of the stories where they're going out there and they're taking care of family members and they're taking care of friends and they're treating people that they didn't get to treat before and they're taking care of the people that took care of them at one point. But it's not good financial decisions. They're just not making good financial decisions. So that's why 33% of them all end up bankrupt. Another reason that they end up bankrupt is because very few people, it's the same, it applies here too. Very few people who got a deal under contract in 7 days or less actually stick around. Why? Because when you get a deal under contract in 7 days, when you close a deal in 15 days, when you close a deal in your first month, what tends to happen is you believe that it's going to be that easy moving forward and that it'll always be that easy. And so after your second month of not getting a deal immediately, or your third month of not getting a deal immediately, the same way you got it the first time, you start to think that the business doesn't work, right? And then you start to think that it's just you got lucky. And that's true. Right? Maybe you did get lucky. But for the people that get a deal in their first, month and they close it, a lot of those people don't end up sticking around because what happens is then they're slapped with reality that this is going to take effort. This is going to take work, just like any other business or any other endeavor. Whereas you could have someone, and if you look at the big influencers, the veterans, the big boys and girls who are succeeding in this business, you know them, I know them, you see them on YouTube, you see them on TikTok, you see them all over the place. The difference between them is that a lot of them didn't have success in that first 30 days or 40 days or 60 days or 90 days. It took them a little bit longer for them to have success. So they respected the business. They respected the profession. They respected the game. And so when they hit that wall again, it wasn't a shock to them because they were hitting walls the entire process. Whereas somebody who just gets a deal under contract in the first 7 days or somebody that closed a deal in the first 30 days, they aren't hitting as many walls because they start, they got lucky and they start to think that the business is always going to be that lucky. It's always going to be that easy. And just like anything, it's not, because if it was that easy, everybody would be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month wholesaling real estate. And that's just simply not the case. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that you need to be doing in order to get your lead generation up so that you can get a deal in the next 7 to 14 days, even if you're brand new, okay? Number one, we all know about cold calling. Look, if you don't want to do the cold calling, no problem. Hire a virtual assistant to do the cold calling for you. Cold calling is still and will always be one of the most effective forms of lead generation. Okay, we're not going to dispute that, and you're not going to win that dispute with me. Number two, Facebook Marketplace. Hop onto Facebook Marketplace and go out there and start searching for leads that way. All right, be prepared that about 80 to 90% of the listings that are on Facebook Marketplace are from real estate agents representing their listings or from other wholesalers that have opportunities that they are trying to assign, which means you're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs in order to find the actual sellers. One of the best prompts that I can give you that you can use when you're reaching out to people on Facebook Marketplace is, are you the owner or are you the agent? When you ask them that question, right? Probably the second or third question. Don't just start the conversation that way. But Facebook has its automatic prompts where if you just click on it, it sends out is this still available? Then they'll respond with their automatic prompt. It's like AI versus AI communicating. So our AI response is this still available? Their AI response is yes. Are you still interested? Now your response is going to be, are you the owner or are you the agent? And then they'll respond and they'll tell you if they're the owner, or they'll tell you if they're the agent, or they'll say, are you interested in submitting an offer? Which is, totally evading the question. Or they'll say something like, I have an equitable interest. I'm a wholesaler. They'll do something like that. If they say something like, I work with the owner to get the property sold, they're probably a wholesaler. Don't be afraid to ask them point blank, look, are you assigning this contract? right? Let's just cut right to the chase. SMS marketing, right? Text message marketing. Now, look, you need to follow all of your state laws when it comes to SMS marketing and opt-ins and all of that stuff. There are some really good companies who do great stuff with SMS marketing, but you have to make sure that you follow all the rules. Follow all the rules. Your local city, county, state, and nationwide rules. Follow the rules, okay? PPL, which stands for pay per lead. I did a training on that last night. You can check our YouTube channel on pay per lead. I recommend using a company called iSpeed to lead. You can go to speed.dispodragons.com, speed.dispodragons.com. You can sign up for the coupon club and you can get leads for as little as $29 per lead. They're not exclusive. Watch the training and I'll cover why you don't really need to worry about exclusive versus non-exclusive. Essentially, what you're looking at is a 1 out of 12 conversion. So for every 12 leads that you buy, that you pay for, pay per lead, out of every 12, you'll typically get one deal. All right. Then there's mass offer and LOI blasting. What is that? That is a strategy where you are sending out offers directly to agents for on-market deals. And you can do that in the form of state contracts, or you can do it just in the form of LOIs, which stands for letters of authorization. So you just send out offers, right? And you can decide, do you want to do it at 50% of the current list price, or 70% of the current list price, or 80% of the current list price? Whatever you decide is where you want to start. You can start sending those offers out en masse, okay? And we use a tool called the Deal Bazooka, where we can send out anywhere between 50 to 400 offers out every single day to nationwide properties that are currently on the market. My suggestion is that if you're going to do that, you target the properties that have been sitting on the market for 90 days or more. We've also had some success where we're targeting properties that have very low equity, very high loan to value, and very, very, very little equity. And we're targeting those as well for subject to opportunities to see if we can get it. All right. Now, for more information like what I covered today, you can go to our dollar club. Yes, it's $1. For $1, you get lifetime access, and you can join our community at school.dispodragons.com. I cover a lot of this stuff on there. And you have a tribe, right? You have a community of people who, like you, want to improve their lives. They want to improve the lives of others. They want to improve their community, right? They want to contribute towards their community. And one of the best ways to do that is by sourcing opportunities for investors. I don't want to get into the debates about gentrification and, how, they're raising the prices of property. Look, when you have someone that has a house right next to them and it's in a dilapidated condition and it's like, let's say it's a tear down, right? It also poses a security risk for the person living next door, right? It also poses a security risk for children who might be going into the property or playing in the property or kidnapped in the property or harmed in the property. That also affects the people around it. So, as much as people want to complain about, prices, going up because of investors coming in there, the investors are the ones buying those types of properties. It's not the, the everyday Molly and John that are buying these properties, right? It has to be all cash transaction. They're buying them, they're fixing them, they're improving the communities, and they're increasing the values of all the neighbors around it. That's just a part of the process, right? There's nothing that you can do about it. So anyway, you're contributing. Be a part of our tribe. Go to school.dispodragons.com. As I said at the beginning, over 50% of the people that are watching this right now are not followers, subscribers, or fans. No, not OnlyFans. Although I'm not sure what would happen if I started streaming this stuff on OnlyFans. Anyway, so make sure that you make sure that you follow us, make sure that you subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, click that bell icon so that way you can get alerts every single time that we go live. We are working on all of this content for you to help you improve your business. While there's no cost to you, the cost of admission is just a like, a follow, and a subscribe. That's all we ask for, all right? If you have a deal that you're currently working on and you need a second set of eyes to review it, send us a direct message through any of the platforms you want. All roads lead to Rome. All messages end up coming to me at some point, and we will review it, and we can schedule a time where we can go over that deal with you. If it needs to be restructured, we'll give you our recommended restructuring of that deal so that you can get the right buyers and the right exit strategy to look at it. We are a disposition company, and we have buyers in almost every single major metro. So if you have a deal that you need sent out to buyers in a particular area, let me know. And at the end of the day, we are still investors as well. So if you have a deal, we'd love to see it. We look at every opportunity as an investor first. Does that mean that we buy every opportunity? No. I don't want you to think that just because you present something to us, we are going to buy it. But I will tell you that we do look at it as an investor. And if it doesn't fit our buy box, then what we can do with you in the form of a joint venture is shoot this out to our VIP buyers and see if we can find a buyer for you. So either way, it's a win, win, win for everybody. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, comments, please post them below in the video. Send me a direct message if you need help. We'll talk soon. Take care, guys. Have a great day.